Welcome back, listeners, to the Nice to Meet You podcast. This is your host, your girl, Lynette, and season 3 continues. I hope you all have enjoyed the latest episode, Becoming Earl Simmons, aka DMX. That was a heavy episode to do. How did you all feel about that? I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm continuing. I hope you all are continuing to pray for DMX. The latest news that I heard on TMZ, I know they did some tests on Wednesday, April 7th, to test out his brain activity to see if he was if anything has improved. And I was reading the results a little bit before I started recording this. I'm recording this on Thursday, April 8th, and the last I heard was saying that the results showed that there's been no improvement with his brain activity since the last time they checked. So it's just sad news. And so the family, I think they're still deciding what they're going to do. I don't know. So I'm just praying that God's will be done, that they make the right decision. The decision that's best for them, the decision that's best for DMX. I don't wish this on anyone. I know I'm sure it's tough what they're going through. Yeah, man, I don't know. Let's just continue to pray for DMX. And keep lifting him up, keep lifting his family up and his children up in prayer. As I said, season 3 continues. And this season, your girl, Lynette, I've been having a hard time coming up with topics. And I'm just going to be transparent with you. I'm sitting here thinking like, I can interview this person. I can interview that person, but what would I interview them about? Yeah, I've been struggling. So this today, I just been thinking over the past few days, like, what can I talk about? And I've been praying to God saying like, what do you want me to discuss? And then, what's been coming to me is settling, like, do not settle. And I know for me, I'm just going to talk to you all today. And I really don't have a script. I just want to, just talk to you. What I've been like just sitting in lately is me finishing what I set out to do, and how I've just kind of glossed over that, and how I really haven't just set. Over the past few days, I've been reflecting, and I have thought about how I actually am about to do what I set out to do as far as teaching. It's been a long journey. I started this back when I went back to school in August of 2014. And on May 15th, so next month, I will have my bachelor's in elementary education. And I need to celebrate that because I actually am doing what I set out to do. Because sometimes we can say we're going to do something. We could have talked about being a teacher, and it could have been a thought. And, I couldn't have went through with it, but I actually am about to be a teacher. Like, wow, I have a job. Like, I'm going to have a classroom in a few months, and this is just crazy. And I thank God for it. As I've told you before, God has kept me. I told you all a few episodes ago, I haven't worked since the end of September, and God has provided for me. He's paid all my bills. Like, God is good. God is great. God is amazing. And I'm very thankful for him taking care of me. And like I said, this topic of settling has just been on my heart. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk about that today. I'm going to you'll see me I'm looking at this article that I found. I just Googled like about settling. And this article is the first article that came up, and it resonated with me. And it's found on medium.com. And it's written by E.B. Johnson. And the title of the article is "You Shouldn't Settle for Less, and This Is Why." And she has quite a few nice pointers, and I kind of want to just go through this article and just share it with you, and hopefully I say something to help you also. Because settling, why do we settle? And I know for me, with me, in my 30s, on my late 30s now, I sometimes the things that I want that I don't have, I can see myself starting to settle because I'm looking at the years. The world is still going around. The years are changing, And there's things that I want, like a family, to be married, things like that. And at this time, I'm like, if a guy is checking some of the boxes and he's decent and he treats me right and something may be off about it, but I'm like, oh, he checks all these boxes. He's decent. He loves God. And I'll say at this time, like, man, I might not like this. I might not like that. But he has all these other things. So I'm looking at this clock and, women, we look at our biological clock and we're like, I got to do something. I want to have kids and I don't have that many years left. And I'm just looking like, man, I got to do something. So I'm over in that area called settling. And so I don't know if any of you out there, have you all been struggling with settling? Like, man, you looking at like, I want this, I want that. And the thing that you want, the person or the thing is so close to what you want. Like, man, I might as well just give in. This is the best that I can do. Or I have these timelines. This is the best I can do right now. So I better take what I can get because nothing better is going to come along. And that's a dangerous, like she said, settling for less in this article. What you want in a relationship can be dangerous. And this is why. And it's some stuff. So I'm going to read this article to you all. Just read a little bit of it. Like I said, I'll leave this in the show notes from medium.com. And so this is by E.B. Johnson. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it and I'm going to reflect on it. Just read a little bit, reflect on it. What you all think about that? All right, let's go. All right, so when it comes to relationships, I'm reading from the article. When it comes to relationships, settling is one of the words we don't like to hear. And it's especially one of those words we don't like to think about. I can agree with that. Excuse me. To settle means to give up, and it means to be with a partner who is neither in love or invested in the same future that you are. When we settle on partners and relationships, we give up on better things that might otherwise have brought us joy and meaning. So let's think about this. When we settle, we give up on things that would have brought us the joy and the meaning that we were looking for. And so to ensure we avoid this mistake, we have to understand what makes us engage in this self-destructive behavior in the first place. Yes, we got to get to the root of the problem. E.B. Johnson is going to get to the root of the problem, okay? So let's keep reading. The pressure to settle down and get a boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner or spouse is very real. As I tell you, like us women, we have a ticking biological clock. And so the clock is ticking. Do y'all hear it? It's ticking and it's real. And the calendar is real. And the months going by, the days going by, the years going by is real. So the article continues on and says, as children, we think of soulmates as the ultimate goal. And as adults, this doesn't necessarily change. We become so obsessed with meeting this goal that we often lose sight of ourselves. And you know what the Nice to Meet You podcast is all about: staying true to yourself and knowing who you are, so you know that person who's staring back at you in the mirror. So like she says, that we become so obsessed with meeting this goal that we often lose sight of ourselves, losing touch with what we both want and need while bearing down with people who provide neither. Wow. This is hot. This is hot. If we are truly seeking to create fulfilling lives that are our own, we have to let go of this desperate need to find someone at all costs and start falling in love with ourselves, something which takes both time, patience, and understanding to unlock. So let's just sit with that. So it's like desperate. Like, we must not be desperate. And I know for me, at one point I was on, I don't know how many dating apps and trying to find, just my significant other. And if you're going, sometimes I feel like for me, I wasn't thinking straight because I might go multiple apps, maybe 2 or 3 at the same time, and meeting all these different people. And that's a lot to keep up with within itself. And it's like, that's my focus. So I feel like when we're solely focused on something, we're not giving ourselves the time to take a step back and really think, because like we're going hard. And sometimes we're not taking the time to reflect on, like, what do we really want? What do we really need? It's like at all costs, I got to have this because it's clock. The calendars keep changing. The days keep going by, the weeks keep going by, the months keep going by, the year keeps going by. And we're like, I got to do something about this. And I think at that time, it's like we're in the Is it the fight or flight mode? I don't even know if I want to say that, but it's like we're at the point like desperation, and that's not a good place to live in. And so let me keep continuing on reading the article. So it says settling for less than we need. Settling for less than we need. Settling is a complex subject, and one that elicits many different opinions from many different people. Our mothers came from an age when settling was all that they had. But modern life is much, much different. And I always say, like, back in the day, a lot of women probably settle because they say settle for the guy that, you know, he had a good job, he can take care of you. Because, like, back then, women's rights were restricted. Like, a lot of women didn't work outside the household, and we were restricted on a lot of things. And we've, you know, came a long way. We got a lot of improvement to do, just like recently at the NCAA tournament, how the women, there was a woman that recorded the gems of the women compared to the men. They did something about it. And still, like with the soccer team, the USA soccer team, the women are killing it. Like, their jerseys are selling out. They're like more famous. They win more than the men. The men, half the time, and don't quote me on this, they don't even qualify to make it to the different tournaments or games or whatever. But the women are like where it's at. Like, the women, you see them on TV. You see little girls want to play soccer because of the women, the USA women team, and they don't get paid anywhere near as much as the men. So I digress because I'm getting off my topic. But still, back in the day, I feel like women probably settle more than they are today. Because today we're like doing the thing. We're bosses. We have our own. We're entrepreneurs. We're taking care of business. So we're not settling as much. But we can still fall in that trap. Raise my hand. I can still fall in that trap. And so I'll continue reading. These days, we are mostly the master of our own destinies. Excuse me. And that means creating the relationships and circumstances in this life that make us feel fulfilled. When we do find ourselves settling for less than what we want, however, it can lead to some serious consequences, both romantically and emotionally. All right, come on, E.B. Johnson. Settling isn't the same as accepting someone's flaws. It isn't a noble martyrdom. It's trapping yourself in something that makes you unhappy, and is doing so for little more than insecurity, fear, or a dependence on the opinions of other people. Because sometimes we settle because you keep going to the holiday, then you keep going to Thanksgiving dinner, like everybody got they're booed up, they had their kids, and like people still looking at you like, you keep coming here, you keep coming to Thanksgiving, you keep coming to Christmas dinner, and you don't have anybody. So sometimes we settle because we're sick of people asking us, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? I know at one point when I was younger, back at the church I was going to, at one point people were getting married left and right. And people would ask me like, people would say, it's your time next. And like, every time somebody get married, you can't just celebrate. They couldn't just celebrate the couple that just got married. They're coming to me like, Lynette, you're next, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, man, this is so frustrating. Like, at the point, I love weddings. I love love. I would sometimes, this is a bonus information. I would just randomly go to people. One time, I think I did this once, maybe twice. I would go to some like a wedding at my church, and someone was getting married, and I maybe necessarily didn't know them. I just love weddings. I would go to the wedding because I just love weddings. But that was irritating. And people out there that have family members, if you've done this, let's consider how you would feel if someone would say that to you every time someone gets married, or every time someone has a baby or something like that, and you're saying to the person, you're next, so your time's coming up. When are you gonna have a baby? When are you gonna get married? Or your grandparents out there saying like, when you gonna give me some grandkids? Just put yourself in that person's shoes and think about how you would feel if someone said it to you. All right, so let's keep going. Let's get back on track. So it says it's trapping yourself in something that makes you unhappy, and it's doing so for little more than insecurity, fear, or a dependence on the opinions of other people. It's a toxic thing. Let's not be toxic. It's a toxic thing to do, and it's something that's completely preventable when you know who you are and become determined to live life on your own terms, boss. All right, so while the journey to self-determination may not always seem like an easy one, it's a worthwhile one. Realizing that we are settling is the beginning of a process that unlocks a life that is entirely our own. Getting there requires embracing our fears, however, and embracing all other facets of the journey, both hard and easy, pleasant and unpleasant. If you feel stuck or chained to someone that just isn't right, read on. And I'm going to read on. I'm going to read on. You can go over it on your own again and create a life that's yours when you know how to do it correctly. All right, so let's keep going on. This is juicy. I love this. What it looks like. There are a number of signs that you might be settling for less than you deserve in this life and in your relationships. So let's listen and let's tune in. I'm talking to myself. I'm not just only speaking to you. I'm talking to myself. Am I settling? Whether you're filling up the space in your life with justifications and excuses, or you're just racking up the endless irritations, our inner self has a funny way of telling us when enough is enough. But we have to tune in and listen closely to get the message. So let's get the message today. Man. All right. So let's see. So justifications abound. Justification, when we justify. So justification, let's read it first. Justification is the funny thing and one of the most common coping mechanisms we activate when we know we're settling for less than we deserve. You might try to convince yourself that you and your partner are happy, or that things are progressing naturally, even when they're clearly not. How many times we justify something, we do something and we try to make it right or make excuses. To me, justification, I don't know, justification and excuses are cousins to me. And sometimes we know things are right, but we make excuses or we justify why it feels right. We know something's off, but like I said, we're desperate, we're tired, we want what we want, and it's taking a long time. Like for me, like God, like I feel like it's like the saying goes, God is never late, but I feel like God, sometimes he takes over to the last minute, the last second. And I know like God doesn't deal with our time. Like we're looking at the calendar, the months and the days, and that's not the same for God. Because what it says, 1,000 years is like a day with the Lord. And so like God he's always right on time. But for us, for me, I'm going to be honest, that sometimes I feel like God is just taking his like slow, little time. And I know that he's doing that because everything is always working out for us. And he is behind the scenes and working things out for us, even when we don't know it. But we want things when we want them. Like I've said this before in another episode that sometimes God doesn't give us things because we're not ready. And if he gives it to us, we might like end up just ruining it. And so God knows he sees the future. He sees like my child is not ready for these things, but they want it so badly. And he's not punishing us. He's just looking out. He's just been a father, just looking out for us and making sure that he gives us things when we're ready for them. And I know I'm not sitting here saying that that's easy. I know plenty of times I've had nights where I've cried and told God, like, man, do you not love me? Like I get sad, get in my tears, get in my feelings and be like, God, do you love me? Like I keep praying for this. Like I'm doing the best that I can. I'm doing what you tell me to do. I'm being obedient to your word. I'm praying to you. I'm talking to them, treating people right. What is it, God? Like, yeah. And so I go back to the article, but you might try to convince yourself that you and your partner are happy or that things are progressing naturally, even when they're clearly not. Or you might tell yourself that this is just how life is and that your partner has the right to be totally wrong for you. Let's just listen to this. Your partner has the right to be totally wrong for you. It's not about what Lynette wants, what Lynette needs. Like this person may not be right for me, but it's okay. I'm desperate. I need to have these kids. I need to get married. I need to have this family. I'm looking at all these other people. I'm looking at people making their posts. They're going to Disney World. They're going to Six Flags. They're going to out of town. They're traveling. I got to get where they are at all costs because I'm behind. Something's wrong with me because those people are living their best lives. And Lynette is scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through Instagram, looking at their life, wishing I was in their place. But you never know what it took to get those people where they are. So I tell myself, never just say that you want, what you need, what you want, but never compare yourself to the next person because you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, what they had to do to get there. So never compare yourself to someone else, especially on social media. Because like I said, we only show, me, including myself, we only show our best selves. We only show ourselves when we're at our best. We don't put on there when we're on our worst days. Typically, we don't. Typically, we don't. So again, so you might just tell yourself that this is just how life is and that your partner has the right to be totally wrong for you. Only when we drop justifying where we are, we can get honest about what we actually want. Like I said, we had to sit with ourselves and say, what do I need? What do I want? Because I talked about this, a law of attraction. It's like sometimes we're so caught up in, I don't want this, I don't want that. So as the law of attraction definition goes, it says that when you keep saying what you don't want, you're also saying, come to me. So we have to be intentional. Check out Intentional Living, the episode that I did with Jeffrey Dudley. We talked about intentional living in 2021. But we have to be intentional about what we want and what we need, because that's what we seek after. That's what will come to us instead of saying what we don't want. That's just negativity, just putting negativity out in the air. And at the Nice to Meet You podcast, we're all about being positive. And so, all right, so let's go into, so we just did justifications abound. So justifying things and saying that, the person may be totally wrong, but I'm desperate and that time clock is ticking and the days and the months and the weeks and the years just going by. Now we're moving to endless irritations. Do you find that it takes a tremendous amount of effort for you to interact with your partner? Do you find yourself preparing mentally or emotionally before, backtrack, read that again. Do you find yourself preparing mentally or emotionally before even putting yourself in the other person's presence? Wow. Did the person just get on your nerves? Did they just irk you? And you have to mentally prepare. Do you have to have a pep talk before you get in the car with this person? Do you have to have a pep talk before you spend any time with them? Ask yourself, if this is what you're doing, is this the person that's really meant for you, or are you settling? Or are you settling? Because I feel like the person that you really truly care about, the person that you love, the person that you like, you'll want to be around them. You don't have to do a pep talk. You don't have to say, okay, let's get this together. Like, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to laugh at their jokes. I'm going to have a good time. You're getting yourself ready, amped up for it. It just happens naturally. If that's the person that you want to be with, your partner in your relationship, like, you don't have to force it. You don't have to have consultations with yourself and have a whole therapy session before you go out with this person, if that's who you're meant to be with. And so it goes on to say, this is one of the biggest tell-all signs that something isn't right and that you might be settling for someone who isn't the right fit. Even in the lowest points of our relationships, it shouldn't be. I'm going to read this a couple times. Even in the lowest points of our relationships, it shouldn't be a struggle to be around our partners. Let me say this one more time. Even in the lowest points of our relationships, it shouldn't be a struggle to be around our partners. The right person is there for you always, and it will always feel natural. I just feel like organic relationships and just being real, just being a real one. And this is hitting home for me, this endless irritations. It has to be natural. It's just like, you just laugh. You like to be in that person's presence. You're not forcing yourself to be around that person. So we got to check ourselves and say, like, am I giving myself a pep talk to be around this person? All right. So the inability to stop the comparisons. When we don't have what we really want, our eyes are drawn to the outer world where they find a sea of comparisons that don't do anything to help our mental and emotional health. Thinking about someone else or thinking about what things could be like with them is a sign that you're not getting what you want at home. Red flag. If you're thinking about your partner, with you, and you're looking at, so-and-so, or looking on TV, or wondering like, oh, what would it be like if I was with this other person? And just, to me, I tend to agree with this article and say that you're not happy with who you were with, because you're in the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Like, if I was to be with this person, then the person that's on your shoulder is not looking to, are we settling? All right. So while this could be just a temporary flaw in your partnership, it could also be a sign that you both would be better off in different circumstances with different people. Hard facts. Okay. Restlessness. Life moves quickly, and it draws us ever forward with its opportunities and temptations. When we're truly content and getting what we need from our environment, this draw is less intense, and we're happier to stay focused on the here and the now. When we're not getting what we need, however, be that emotionally or physically, we keep seeking it. That leads to a feeling of restlessness that can seriously undermine our long-term happiness and fulfillment. Ooh. All right, all the complaints. As humans, we have a number of funny coping mechanisms that work to drive us towards what we need. These little mechanisms, however, can make it really hard for those around us, especially those who don't suit where we're going. Ooh, you might, and then also, like, you might have goals and dreams, and the person on your left or your right, you may be looking like they don't have any goals and dreams, but they treat me decent. They're here for me. They're nice. They're a nice guy, a nice girl. They don't make me happy, but they're nice. They pay the bills, go to work every day. They don't have any goals. They just wake up every day. No, clock in, clock out. They have no goals, no ambitions. But you have. When is the last time that person made you laugh? When is the last time you had those butterflies in your stomach? Or are we settling? One such mechanism is complaining, which we use to signal displeasure to app partner that isn't doing something that we want. They can't do anything right, or you just nitpicking. It's like everything they do, they're irritating you. It's like, oh, do you have a microscope on them? Everything they do, the way they chew their food, the way they walk, the way they talk, nothing they can do right. It's nothing that they can do that makes you feel attracted to or passionate about them anymore. It's endless irritation and a silly number of complaints that will otherwise not trouble you. All right, so now the article is now getting down to why we do it. Why do we settle? We don't just wake up and decide to settle for less than we deserve one day. It's something that happens as a result of a number of factors. Low self-esteem, being naive, your financial dependence. Like I said, sometimes the person may have a nice check coming in. Might not like them. Might not be attracted to them. They got a nice check. I'm talking to myself. I'm not just talking to you all. These are some hard facts we have to deal with. Can leave you low self-esteem, being naive, having financial dependence on the person can leave you stuck in a rut and chained to a relationship that is neither healthy nor worthwhile. Getting free of our desperate need to settle requires digging deep and getting honest about the reasons behind our need to be unhappy. We have to sit down and reflect. Like I said, journaling, asking ourselves, why are we settling for less? Why are our needs and wants not important? Why are we putting them to the side? Because of what? Because of what society says? I know for me, just look at my age and just the things that I want, it's like, no, I said the clock is ticking. And so I might be like, man, I might want this. Like back in my 20s, I might not have settled for this, but I'm in my 30s, pushing 40. So, all right. Low self-esteem is one of the most common reasons that we stick around long after things are no longer right. Feeling bad about ourselves or thinking that we aren't worthy. I guess I always, couple posts, I try to post often that I matter, I am enough. And I say that in my words of affirmation every day. I say, I am enough, I matter, I am enough. Because sometimes we might not think that we're worthy. And so it leads us to fall into the arms of people who aren't right for us. And it keeps us stuck even after we realize they aren't the one. This is because low self-esteem forces us to believe that we deserve a poor life or unhappiness. Something which just isn't true on any level. And like I said, I've been more in tune with me. So like I said, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, are we going after what makes us happy? Or do we think that we're not worthy for maybe something we went through in our childhood and we just don't think we're worthy of being happy? And you're worthy of that. You're worthy of that. You deserve someone to treat you nice. You deserve to be with someone where you get the butterflies, where they make you laugh. You deserve all of that. And being naive. So being naive is dangerous, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. When we allow ourselves to be blinded by innocent optimism, we make it easier to be taken advantage of. We also make it easier to keep ourselves stuck, settling for a relationship that don't suit our true purpose or happiness. Being naive can take the form of the belief that things will change or get better. Or it might look a little bit like someone who accepts things as they are, no matter how bad, in a type of expected martyrdom. Wow. All right, we're getting on down to it. So rose-tinted glasses are yet another reason we hang around with partners and people that don't have our best interests at heart. We may think our partner will change. You can't change people. And I know the testimony, like people have to want to change themselves. People have to want to grow. Sometimes people tell you like, I am who I am, accept me for who I am. But that's a limiting statement for us to make. If I say I'm Lynette, accept me for who I am, then I'm limiting myself of any other capability to grow. Because I know that I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago. I allow myself to be open to the ability to grow. So if I run into someone, that may not think like I do, and they, with respect, they tell me their opinion, I feel like if I leave myself the opportunity to be open-minded, that Yes, I may have been letting that, like, thinking like this for, I don't know, however many years. But if I run into someone and they tell me something, they have a legit excuse and a legit, like, what they're saying, that I feel like, be open to grow. Because if I say that this is who I am, accept me for who I am, I'm limiting to myself to be able to grow. And so it says, we might think our partner will change, or that we have the ability to change them. We might think that things are better than they are. We might think that things are progressing naturally. Seeing things through rose-tinted glasses keeps us naive and helps keep us stuck and unhappy. All right, so what is that? Fear of being alone. Many of us stay in relationships that aren't a great fit because we think that if we let this person go, there will be no one else out there who will agree to love us. This is a completely ludicrous belief, however, as considering the fact that there are 7 billion people on the planet. There is literally like someone out there for everyone. There is always say there's someone for everybody. It's a fear of being alone. Like all other fears, it destroys who we are. All right, dependent or responsible. If you're emotionally or financially dependent on someone, it can cause you to keep yourself chained to relationships that don't actually serve your real happiness. Being dependent on someone or feeling responsible for someone keeps us sticking around long after things are no longer working out. Like the paying the bills, maybe knocking me upside the head, calling me out my name, emotionally, verbally abusive, but the lights are on. I'm driving a nice car. I'm dressed from head to toe. I got that bag that's $300. I got those shoes on my feet that's $500. Are we doing that? So the trouble with this, however, is that sometimes it always leads to a further erosion of self and happiness. All right, so why it never works. Though we might be led to believe that settling isn't that bad, nothing could be further from the truth. Settling for anything in this life, especially relationships, is bad and a lazy habit to get into, and one that destroys our sense of self. If you're struggling in this life and looking to be happy again, realize that settling never works. Talking to myself too. You're missing out on something real. In order to avoid settling, you have to start thinking about your life in terms of real estate. Settling is giving up physical real estate in your life and limiting the room and emotional space you have for the other real and meaningful experiences and people. For example, if you keep yourself chained to a partner who is a poor fit, you're closing the door on the opportunity to meet the partner who's the perfect fit. Settling is a bit like emotional squatting, which closes out any chance of turning that space into something fulfilling and successful. So when we limit ourselves or we stay with someone that's not the perfect fit for us, we're closing the door on the person that's the perfect fit. We're not even allowing ourselves to see ourselves to be happy, to truly be happy, and to go after what we want and need, because we settle. So we're just closing the door on the opportunity to meet that one that's special for us. And so it says the cravings will never stop. Just because you allow something else to take up physical space in your life does not mean that you will stop craving those intangible things you were searching for in the first place. When we settle, we don't stop looking for the things we still want and need. Even though you might be in a committed relationship, the unhappiness will bubble to the surface. Your eyes will start to wander. And when you do, you find yourself in the vicinity of someone who has the qualities that you need. So you gonna be with that person, but your eyes are still wandering. You're still wondering what if. So you're still gonna be unhappy. You still gonna have a need, like that you can do better, or that there's better out there for you. And so that sense of unsettlement is still gonna be in you. So people don't change for other people. Settling is a trap, and it's one that often begins with the false belief that people can change and you could be the one changing them. Preach. You cannot change people. They have to have a mind to want to change themselves, to grow. If that person, like I said, they have the attitude, I am who I am, accept me for who I am, that person has turned off the ability to grow. For me, that's my opinion. You can't make your partner into the person you want. They can't even make themselves into the dream partner you've been idealizing. So since you were a child, not only does that person not exist, it's not even possible to change the people around us. You can't mold your partner into someone that they aren't. You can't control them or predict how they'll fit into whatever future you have dreamed of. Are we possible of change? Sure, but only when we want that change for ourselves. You hear that? We have to want to change ourselves. We have to activate it ourselves. And then this article is a little bit long, so I'm gonna try to skim. All right, so resentment. Perhaps one of the greatest dangers of settling in a relationship is the resentment that always results. When we don't get what we want or need, it can lead to a number of emotions, least of which is not anger and disappointment. You start to resent your partner. You then start to resent yourself for getting trapped in the first place. You may even begin to resent the people who encourage you to stay strong or keep the relationship together when you're clearly a poor fit in the first place. You start to resent yourself, resent your partner, resent the people that told you to stay with the person. Man. All right, so I'm going to scroll on down and get to how to stop settling and start creating the relationship you deserve. If you settled in the past, or even think you might be settling right now, the good news is that it can be changed. The first part of building the life that we want is realizing all the things that are holding us back or preventing us from engaging in the transformation we're so desperately seeking. Once we recognize these people and circumstances for who they are, we can dig deep and change them. So first, ignite your self-awareness. The first step in getting authentic requires us to get real about what we want and what we don't want. So we have to be clear about what we need and what we want. We have to be honest about who we are and what we want from life. We have to start building up the awareness. We need to tap into our inner confidence. This takes spending time with ourselves, digging deep into the meat of who we are on a regular basis, getting to know ourselves intimately. Then number 2, embrace all your greatest fears. Before you can leap into the unknown, you have to lean into how to embrace your fears. We're all afraid of being alone. We've all felt afraid that something isn't good enough. This is a reality. However, when we embrace the commonality, we can empower ourselves to reach for the things and the people that are both fulfilling and meaningful. Only when we learn to embrace our fears and insecurities for what they are, can we find the silver lining to transform them into strengths. Ask yourself, is this how I really want to live the rest of my life? In a continued cycle of self-defeat, what do I really want to, what do I have to lose at this point? What's so wrong with getting what you want? Yeah. Oh my God, these are some great questions. 3, seek your passions. There is a lot of pressure from society to get ourselves settled into relationships and start procreating as quickly as possible. It's not hard to get caught up in this pressure and lose sight of the things that matter, especially things that only matter to you. When we lose sight of our passions and our joys in exchange for the pursuit of a soulmate, we lose sight of ourselves. Lean into your friends and listen to them when they tell you the truth that you don't want to hear. By reconnecting with the things and people outside our relationship that matter the most, we can realize our worth once more and start to pursue the things that are more aligned with what we want. Embrace yourself. Just figure out what you want and what you need. Fill that hole in your heart with meaningful things, not people you wish were more meaningful to you. Bars. Set some boundaries. Boundaries are an essential part of a healthy life. Our boundaries form the basis of our security in this chaotic world. They're the primary means by which we protect ourselves from never-do-wells and abusers who want nothing more than to take advantage of us in our weakest moments. If you think you're stuck in a rut, lean on your boundaries to leverage your way out. So your boundaries allow you to define your limits. They allow you to define the terms by which you interact with the world around you. If you're struggling with someone manipulating your emotions or pushing you around, rework your boundaries and make it clear where the line. Draw your foot in the sand. Now, this is where your boundaries are, and don't let people cross them. All right. Don't compromise your values. Whatever has led you to fall in love, take a few moments to reassess and realign yourself with the reality of the situation. Drop the delusions that led you to pine for someone and give yourself a set of terms and a timer that clearly defines when enough is enough. Within those terms, consider too where your values lie. If you truly want to stop settling, you got to stop compromising your values. Stop settling, have values. It's okay to have values. Set your values and stand firm on that, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. And shift your thinking. Letting thoughts like I can't or I'm a failure rule your life can cause you to lose touch with not only yourself, but your voice as well. Losing those things will become completely detached from who we truly are and replace those with negative thoughts and thought patterns. You have to replace that negative voice with a subtle voice, a more loving one that complements the things you actually do well, and let go of your need to meet your poorest expectation. So transform your inner voice from one that tears you down to one that builds you up. Find your voice, find your inner voice. Align your words and actions. After getting a better grip on who you are and what you need to define your purpose. Go after it with everything that you got. Define what it is that you want. Communicate them with your words, your actions, your decisions. You got to find meaning in your life. Pick a purpose. Go after it. Like a dog on a scent. No one is stopping you but yourself. And then she closes it out by putting it all together. When you live a life that's racked by fear and insecurity, it can be easy to find yourself settling for relationships or opportunities that don't really suit who you are or what you want. It's critical that we refuse to settle in this life, but that takes courage, and it takes some radical self-acceptance too. We settle for a number of reasons, but the results are always the same: sadness, low self-esteem, even lower opinions of who we are and what we need. Ignite, set that fire. Ignite your self-awareness. Get brutally honest about where you are and where you truly want to be. Take a realistic look around you and compare where you are to where you need to go. Embrace your fears and understand that we're all a little terrified of change. Seek your passions and let them lead you to the things and the people that you really want to be around. Who are the people that you really want to be around, that you're not irritated, that's like you got to give yourself a pep talk to be around them? Who are the people that organically, that naturally, you just enjoy their presence? You deserve that. Set boundaries and stop compromising the values. Like, we have some values, and stick to your values. You don't have to compromise your values that will otherwise define who you are and what you want. When we settle for partners and opportunities that aren't right for us, it's often a sign of low self-esteem and low self-opinion. Shift that negative thinking and align your words and desires with your actions. You are using the manifest. Hold on. Rewind. Read that again. Shift that negative thinking and align your words and desires with the actions you are using to manifest the future that you want. We have a limited amount of time on this planet. Make the most of it by letting go of your fear and your desperate need to settle for less than you deserve. And that's facts. Like I always say, you only get one life to live, so live it to the best of your ability. You don't have to settle. You do not. This article helped me so much, and I'm going to leave the link in the show notes. This is just some real true things that we have to sit and think about. Like, we only get one life to live, so you enjoy the ability to be happy. And I always say that there's a song by, is it Martha Munizzi, that says your ladder will be greater than your past. Your ladder will, stop trying to sing. Your ladder will be greater than your past. And all things are possible. And all things are possible because your ladder will be greater than your past. And I truly believe that. I believe, like I said, look at timelines, and according to the world standards, I'm behind, but I'm right where God wanted me to be, and I don't have to settle. I'm God's child. It's like DMX says, I'm God's child. He says, I'm God's best child. So we put that in, I'm God's best child, and God wants what's best for me. So I should want what's best for myself. I don't have to settle. I don't have to be desperate. I don't have to look at society, judge myself by society standards. I'm right where I need to be, and I deserve the best. And I'm worthy. I matter. I am enough. You are worthy. You matter. You are enough. So write down your needs and your wants and go after that. And if you're looking at someone sideways, or you're looking at the person next to you and you're like, why am I with this person? And and you're asking yourself, if this is what I really want, this is what I really need, then let's reassess that we might just be walking in the area of settling. And we have to ask ourselves, do we have low self-esteem? Are we just irritated? We complaining? What is going on? We have to reassess and just take some time, some self-reflection, and ask ourselves, why are we with this person if they're not making us happy? Because we deserve to be happy. They deserve to be happy. And two unhappy people, that's just miserable. And so, like I said, we don't have many years on this planet. And so just make the best of your situation. All right. So, like I said, this episode was off the cuff, but this episode truly helped me. It's like I said, these things are, to me, this channel is always about, my podcast is all about inspiring one another to become the best version of ourselves. And that's truly my goal. This is my passion. That's why I get on here and do this, to help us just be our best selves. Because when you're not, you just wake up every day and you're miserable. And so I hope that something I've said on this channel or on this podcast helps you to keep coming back and to realize that you deserve the best. Your girl Lynette said that you deserve the best. So go after the best. And I'm going to leave the link to this article, which is a meaty article. I didn't even read all the pieces in it. And it's so much information. So I hope you go back and read it on your own as many times as you needed to read it until it becomes a part of where you realize that you don't have to settle. All right. And you all know I cannot leave you all without quoting my favorite scripture found in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts I think towards you, said the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. God's going to bring us to our expected end, you and me. So I want you all to come back next week. Go out there this week. Continue to be great. Continue to be amazing. To realize that you deserve the best and that you don't have to settle for anything. You are God's child. He wants the best for you. So go after the best. Whatever makes you happy, you do that, all right? So until next Wednesday, nice to meet you. Let's go.